Okay, we're going to finish our brochure here for MBT3, and then we're going to look at MBT4 because that's also another review standard with rounding. So use the arrows to or equal sign to compare the numbers. So once again, you have 4 and 67 thousandths, or 4 and 605. For me, you can line up your decimals here. I can see it. I'm sure you can see this without even lining up your decimals, but because it says explain your thinking, it's just easier to show your work. Indicate which one is bigger by putting in the correct sign. 605 is bigger. And to explain your thinking, you line up your decimal places and start in the tenths place to see the bigger number. Remember, you can pause me if you need to. Select the expression that has the same value as 0.263. So this is looking at it, 263,000. Remember what the and says? 263 thousandths, 2 times 1/10, plus 6 times 1/100th, plus 3 times 1/1000ths, 2 times 1/10, plus 63 times 100th, and 2 times 1/10, plus 63 times 1/1000ths. So I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to let you check off what you think it is. There are 2 correct answers. The correct answer is this one right here and this one right here. Even though this is 63 hundredths, it ends in the thousandths place, so it would not be equivalent. And this is 63 thousandths, which is correct, but it's not in a sense when we are teaching you how to look at it the correct way. Okay, flipping over to number 11 on the back. Using the arrows to compare the numbers explains your thinking. Once again, the first thing you do is line up your numbers. What do you notice that this one has an extra number, right? That does not always make that it's the bigger number. You have an empty spot here, and what do I say when you have an empty spot? You can always add a 0. Now that you see it, when you lined up the numbers, indicate which one is bigger. You should have chosen this one. Explain your thinking. You can go in and add more details. I'm going to move on to number 12. Select the statements that are correctly comparing the numbers. I'm going to line them up over here. Each one. And I'm going to give you time, and you can check your answers over on the other side, and they will tell you the correct ones. But you'll notice when you get down to this one, it has extra spots. Please make sure that your decimals, you can see all of my decimals are lined up. Please make sure that you have the correct answers, or you can add zeros here. Okay, so take a moment and fill that out. What you should have found are these following options. So basically B, C, and E are the correct answers. Okay. I'm looking at 4.nbt.3 now. So once you have NBT3 done, you were given NBT3 and 4 to complete in this activity. So this you can put away because your answers are already recorded on the computer. So we're looking at NBT4, and we're looking at rounding the decimals to any place. So I'm going to open up to my very first question. What is 1.407 rounded to the nearest whole number? Explain your thinking on the number line. So thinking about 1.47. It's greater than 1, but less than 2. Is it greater than or less than this part right here? Yes, that's right. It's less than. Because this part right here is 1.5. Because half of 1 and half of 2 is 0.5, so it's 1.5. So I would put that right about, maybe a little bit closer, but right around here, I'd put 1.407. Because remember, I can always add zeros. And rounding it to the nearest whole number, looking at it, is it closer to 2 or is it closer to 1? You should have said closer to 1 because it's closer to this part than it is to that part. Okay, looking at question number 2, what is 7.52 rounded to the nearest tenth? Explain your thinking on the number line. Once again, it says the tenths place, so I like to circle my 4. I'm going to count this so that I can see this evenly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 in between. So to me, this is saying that this is 7.41. Then this one is 7.42. And 7, oops, I forgot 7. 7.43. 7.44. And if you'll just take a moment to add your numbers on here. Because if I add a 0 to my 5, it makes sense. This is 740 or 7.40, and I add them on there. And now it wants me to put 7.452, so it's not really on this line. It's a little bit off. And it wants me to determine whether it is rounded to the nearest tenth, if it's closer to this 7.4 or if it's closer to 7.5. Remember, we're more than halfway, we're a little over halfway. So you should choose this one over here. It's closer to 7.5.